Esports Podcast, Noun. A 2-hour-long video full of banter and nonsense where the guests are only introduced halfway through and the outro makes you think your internet's died. Huh.
So this is going to be a new series here on my channel. I think about ones I've had Thorin versus Reddit, petty grievances, Thorin's thoughts, obviously narrative mechanic. I've got all my talk shows. I even did a brief one that I'm going to bring back, Thorin versus fake news, as a way to call out all the bullshit journalists. So I think I'm going to do a new series. It's going to be called Thorin versus Sportswashing. And when I see just ridiculous, egregious examples of sportswashing, I'm going to have some fun and we're going to break it down and we're going to sort of like dig into it. I'm going to sort of read between the lines and show you some of the things that are going on here. And as a journalist, as someone who's written many articles and has worked for like actual tech verticals like CBSI's, On Gamers, etc., I can sort of give you the behind the scenes, the inside baseball of what they're doing here and how they're manipulating media and language to shape your perceptions and manufacture consent, as it were. So here's a great piece already, but let me just briefly address what is sports washing, because I feel like a lot of people get lost in this. They think sports washing means that you just take something that's like funded by or sponsored by bad people, and then you just make the bad thing they're doing look really good. It's like, no, bozo, you haven't thought it through. Think about the washing part. What you're doing is you're taking a sport and you're using it to wash the bad thing so that it doesn't look bad. But not in that sense of like, you're not going to take the thing and go, hey, they're not really killing people. You're going to wash it in the sense that you're just going to take the bad thing, and by associating it with the good thing, you're going to sort of merge them and only show the good thing that you like already, the sport or the e-sport in this particular case. And you're just intentionally going to create a space that talks about the good things. You go to that, but you'll never see a mention of the bad thing within that. That's the genius of it. So first of all, you're going to associate something you like, sports, esports, media, entertainment, with something you don't, I don't know, oppressive regimes that kill people, chop their heads off, murder journalists, put women in jail for decades for tweets, actually track down women in other countries using social media, that sort of thing, you know, the kind of stuff that's not really kind of cool in kind of a way in the modern world, right? You take that, and as I say, not only do you associate it with it, but because you put something good with it, people are still going to watch it. Fuck it, I watch the EWC, I watch bloody Manchester City play, I watch boxing, I don't watch golf, but if they put one other sport I liked on there, I'd watch it, right? And then in doing so, you've created a space where when I enjoy that, I never have to imagine that there's going to be a discussion of the bad thing. That's the washing aspect. That's the key thing, that they will never talk about the bad thing. By the way, if you want to know more about specific sports washing with the Saudis, actually that guy from Overwatch and now Valorant, Sideshow, who's actually from my area in the UK when I used to live there, he did an excellent video where he summarised a lot of that. And obviously Richard Lewis on his YouTube channel has done many pieces that are fabulous about that, and is one of the most brave people in the industry speaking out against that. It's actually one of the reasons he's been blacklisted supposedly by the people we're talking about from like ESL in any context. So I'll give you a quick example. No, mad. So anyway, we're going to get into this piece here, which you might just think, again, if you don't know media, but what do you mean though? This isn't about sports washing theory. Look, it's a Rolling Stone article. We all know Rolling Stone, right? It used to be a classic magazine. Hunter S. Thompson, that guy who did the movie Almost Famous, you know, had a lot of great pieces over the years, right? Here's the key thing to understand. Rolling Stone launched a vertical called RS Gaming, so Rolling Stone Gaming, which sounds great, right? Shills like Slasher work for it. But when you go to it, you see here, they even announced it in Game Developer. It goes, Rolling Stone launches game vertical with help from who? The Saudi Wealth Fund. RS Gaming has been launched in partnership with ESL FACEIT Group, which is owned by Saudi state-backed investment fund PIF. Technically, like, it's owned by like Savvy Gaming, which is part of the PIF, and the PIF is the sovereign wealth fund of the Saudi royal family with the regime in Saudi Arabia. So you'll see here, I'll quickly read some. Rolling Stone makes its own vertical of gaming, etc., and it's going to be about esports too. A new section has been launched in partnership with ESL FACEIT Group and will be helmed by senior gaming editor Christopher Cruz, sellout #1. And then it says, look, the media company said it will report on the world of video games with a hyper focus on art technology. Anyway, keep going on here. Keep going down. You go all the way down. It's just going on about how great it is. The nature of the partnership between Rolling Stone and ESL FACEIT Group is unclear. You'll soon find out. The esports and entertainment company said it's looking forward to establishing a unique platform to celebrate the esports stars, talents, creators, brands, and global competitions that next generation audience care about the most. Pause. The key part that's not written there, that's between the lines is, but a safe area where there'll never be any mention of what the actual people who own the PIF and Savvy Gaming Group are actually doing in their country and doing culturally. Even though, remember, you know esports and general gaming, guys, it is a space littered in the mainstream with what? Incredibly woke politics, isn't it? It's constantly about the idea a video game character is racist, or someone in the scene is a sexist, or someone said a naughty word. So the same sorts of people that you'd now ask to report about all this stuff, they might just one day have a conscience or just decide it fits their agenda to point, hey, how do you treat women there, or gay people, or actually, do you even allow certain media there, or certain things are allowed to... No. Let's create our own that's sanitized, it's safe. Oh, no, sorry, don't create, just partner with someone. So you go to it, just says again there, as I said, that's actually the Savvy Gaming Group, which is a subsidiary of the Public Investment Fund, the Sovereign Fund, blah, blah, blah. By the way, when it says there, chaired by Saudi Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed bin Al Saud, which actually notice in this piece, hence why they've created this, already the person writes, because the game developer doesn't have a partnership, who has been accused of human rights abuses and linked with the assassination of a journalist. Then he says there, previous people they've invested in. Notice that, invested in, previously invested in. So no, when I saw up there, it was like they've just partnered with them. That means we might even buy a stake in it and pay you to even set up the vertical. Who knows what partnered means in that particular context, guys? Previously, they've invested in, and all these people that you also like from general gaming stuff, right? And the group has expressed a desire to turn Saudi Arabia into a global hub for game development. And that says there, they reached out for more details, but you'll see there isn't anything else, is there? So the key thing to understand here is, see this article? Look, it looks like it's just a fine article about esports. The glory road inside the trials of esports stardom. Playing video games professionally is a dream, but the journey to get there is both challenging and misunderstood. You might think that sounds like an all right article, Thorin. Let's read it first before we judge. First, I've read it. And two, immediately two things jump off the screen to me here, boys. First of all, notice it says partner content. Spoiler, that just means the Saudis have paid them or instructed them, or this is within their remit of what they're supposed to create for them. This isn't just an article someone from Rolling Stone wrote from their own perspective with their own opinions or neutrally just reporting the facts. It's intentionally sort of a secret advert for all the shit that ESL FACEIT Group does, but without ever mentioning the sportswashing. That's an even cleverer way to do the sportswashing, isn't it? And then here's the second thing that should set off crazy alarm bells in your mind. You'll see this in esports, by the way. It was written by Rolling Stone. Sorry, what? Now you're going to go, well, obviously, Thorin, it's on Rolling Stone, isn't it? No. When Hunter S. Thompson wrote for Rolling Stone, they didn't go written by Rolling Stone. They wrote written by Hunter S. Thompson. When you have a famous person write for any magazine, obviously you want the byline. It's one of the biggest things in fucking media, isn't it? And journalism. So whenever it says written by Rolling Stone, look, I can tell you in general what that means. I've seen people actually do this already. On Riot Games does it when they put an article or a news post that they think is going to be very unpopular. They just put written by LOL Esports or Riot Games or something. And the reason you do that is there's no one to blame. So who are you going to hate on? It's just the whole publication. There's no journalist. You can go and look up their Twitter and see what they say, see if they've ever been a hypocrite. There's nobody whose name is attached to this and stained by it, but it gets out there all the same. So crucially, anytime it's something like sportswashing or partner content or an article that could be controversial about gender or race, and they put just the staff wrote it, LOL Esports staff, that means that they're actually hiding and no one wants to take credit and have their name associated with that. So already massive fucking alarm bells going off and red flags all over the place. So written by Rolling Stone. Brilliant. By the way, get ready, because this article, look, some of it's legit, but it is grade sports washing. This is like, it's got an aspirational tone to it. It's supposed to inspire you with people's real life, feel good stories of human interest. I'm using all real media terms here. It's culturally impactful, but crucially, never mentioning a certain culture paying for the whole thing, and even pretending in certain times like they agree with and are propagating your culture, which goes directly counter to theirs, and is the whole reason why they're using even now your culture to wash their esport and what they're doing with their esport in this particular case. So get ready. This is going to be a lot of fun. By the way, if you don't understand this whole thing of why it's a problem, to have people like this partner with you and then have articles, which, yes, it does say at the top of the article, partner content, but most people don't understand what that means. A lot of people will not understand that, and so that it will still go down all the same hook, line and sinker, and especially normies will just read this and have no clue. Like, you can't see from here that they're associated with the Saudis. It's not going to say that in their article. Look, you can go and find where it was announced, like I said, on other websites and all the rest of it, but it's not going to say in this article, so you don't know what partner content means in this particular context. So think about an obvious real-world example of this. Off the top of my head, isn't the Washington Post, that famous newspaper and website, I believe it's owned by Jeff Bezos, who also owns Amazon. So spoiler, they have actually written articles, believe it or not, about certain other billionaires that are like, is America got too many oligarchs and billionaires? But they intentionally don't mean Jeff Bezos. That's, in fact, one of the purposes of writing it. You're almost doing it to fuck the other billionaires and not fuck Jeff Bezos. That's a sort of a media washing aspect in that particular sense, right? And so you also wouldn't trust them then, as a newspaper, to then actually fucking report on Jeff Bezos and Amazon, would you? So if Amazon was doing something fucked up, I imagine they'd conveniently find a way to spin it another way or not talk about it if possible. Or even worse, just use that space to talk about something brilliant that Amazon's doing. Maybe they do a charity initiative or they have a load of diversity. Who the fuck knows what they're doing? So let's get into this article. I won't read the whole thing. It's not a mega article. What we'll do is try and spot the sports washing as we go. So it's going to be about how you get into esports, professional gaming, and what it's about. So by the way, the most 101 article of all time. But fair play, they actually did get a lot of quotes here, but that's a very clever excuse. Are you ready? What they do here is find a way to just advertise everything that's to do with the ESL FACEIT Group, almost every vertical and aspect you can imagine and product, and simultaneously imply that esports is ESL FACEIT Group, like they just run it all, and that the way you even get into esports, which is ESL FACEIT Group, is via a product of ESL FACEIT Group. Just get ready. As I said, this is actually some of the best sports washing I've ever seen. You'd need an expert like me to break it down, hence why I'm doing it now. Right, so look. Classic beginning for a normie mainstream article is whenever you write about esports, you always do this whack thing where you bring the viewer into like the perspective of being the person inside the game. So in this case, in terms of a pro. So famously, there used to be a really hacky way of writing it, where back in the day, when they'd write about Quake or Counter-Strike, you'd start like this. Your pulse quickens. The sweat runs down your brow. You're rushing through a demonically satanic dungeon in space. You hear the sound of a humming lightning gun ready to fire out electric across the screen and pin your opponent to the wall. You hear the breathing as he moves around the territory, seeking you out, this bloodlust to get the first blood. And then all of a sudden, you're hit by the sound of a depleted uranium shell slug from a railgun hit. And you'd be like, holy fuck, but it's just Quake, innit? Like, holy shit, you're getting way too deep into the lore of all this, mate. Like, this is just whack. And so similarly for Counter-Strike, it's like, you are part of an elite crack squad who is now trying to take and assault the warehouse in which the terrorists now hold the hostages that you must like, oh, fucking hell, bro. This is so over the top because we all know those are just like window dressing for the game, and the game is like terrorist versus CTs or 1v1 Quake with different weapons. So they've done that already. They go, imagine that you're a professional gamer. Shoes planted into the base of your chair, hands clenching the mouse and keyboard, adrenaline spiking as the countdown clock ticks away. This is it, the final push towards being a champion. In a technicolor frenzy of sight and sound, the match's end draws near and the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Yet you remain still, fully locked in. By the way, pro tip that Christopher Hitchens taught me, this would make this writing 100 times better. Don't use cliches all the time because cliches aren't your words. You just thought of the first word and then the cliche filled in someone else's macro. So all this thing here where it's like adrenaline spiking, the clock ticks away. The technicolor frenzy of sight and sound. Sight and sound is a ridiculous one. And then there's all, the hairs on your back of your neck stand up. Like, you could have written all that in a way better way. You could have just used your own language and it would sound cooler, actually. And it wouldn't just seem like you just wrote a bunch of soundboard shit. Amid the muted chatter of your teammates on mics, the moment arrives. The clock strikes 0. That's an insane hack. 1, 2. You've done it. Finally, time to breathe. But suddenly the ground begins to shake. Peering above the horizon's edge of the screen, there's an even bigger cacophony as lasers and confetti rain down on the thousands of people roaring on their feet. This isn't your bedroom or even the weekly LAN meetup. How many years ago were weekly LAN meetups? That was like 20 years ago, you fucking idiot. Everyone has DSL and cable for about 20 years. No one has LANs. We don't go to BYOC LANs, you fucking... What a hack. It's the big leagues. You're a rock star. You're a rock star, baby. Remember that shit where fucking Charlie Sheen was like, I'm a rock star. Yeah, that's the vibes I'm getting. Center stage. This is the feeling of being an esports champion. Watch every time there's a link. We'll have a quick look. So esports, that's just advertising all their esports articles. By the way, they spam so many links to everything that's to do with Rolling Stone and their vertical RS Gaming in this as well. That's the feeling of being an esports champion. Over the last few years, you're going to find out that esports is just ESL FACEIT Group because they're the ones paying for the article. It's become an increasingly attainable dream. True. Through organisations like ESL FACEIT Group, but bizarrely, only ESL FACEIT Group, because they're the ones paying for it, so why would you advertise your rivals? Who have hosted global tournaments like Intel Extreme Masters. So here's an article from Cologne that's doing some Esportswashing, how Counter-Strike became a phenomenon in Cologne, also by Rolling Stone magazine, you'll notice. Not, someone who wrote for Rolling Stone. ESL 1 and more for nearly 25 years. Players from all walks of life, insanely hackneyed phrase, not even true by the way, players actually come from very limited walks of life, don't they? Have had the opportunity to turn their passion for gaming, also just goes to the gaming section here, into a real career, leading to dreamlike moments like this. And then what do you know? Which one have we picked first, right? Did we pick, since that article was up Cologne, like Team Vitality winning IM Cologne last year, one of the biggest Counter-Strike events in the world, a procedure? No, of course we took the Saudi-funded Team Falcons, the winners of Overwatch Champions Series 2024. What are the chances, eh? But the road to esports stardom isn't easy. I can't wait to find out how I do it. As with traditional sports, it takes a level of dedication that most people will never have, accompanied by many sacrifices. Let's just skip forwards. When you say Counter-Strike, it's just the Counter-Strike section of this, which takes you here, all those articles. We'll keep going down. Just about playing for a living. Here's where we're going to get interesting. For most modern competitors, the path to going pro... Wait a minute, I thought we were talking about esports and at the top level, it's like to be an esports person. Oh no, wait. You're going to give me a way to become pro that's actually not really, but I see what you're going for. The path to going pro begins early. In the old days, that might have meant late teens. What? Holy shit, here's what's mental. In the old days, that might have meant late teens. Bro, that actually implies now the path to pro is when you're in your early teens, right? If you don't know, I think if you're under the age of like 16, you actually get your FACEIT account banned because you're not allowed to be that young. I think Donk had it happen to him. This new guy who's like 13's had it happen to him. That's just because that's the terms of service. Doesn't matter that it's Donk. If he made the account when he was 13, that's not allowed. Like, think about it. If someone was like a 9-year-old kid playing there, well, I don't even know if they're allowed to play the video game at that age. So anyway, let's keep going though. But as the world of esports has grown and the games played become readily accessible to younger audiences, I mean, that shouldn't apply to the games they're talking about, okay? It's common to see players as young as 7 picking up a title. That'll soon catapult them into tournament player. We're not going to mention that potentially is incredibly harmful to a 7-year-old to be playing like esports titles that they're like trying to go pro in. Like, that sounds pretty dark in itself, but okay, we're just going to ignore that. That might be a problem. And while some leagues once required a long process akin to traditional sports, with local group play leading to lower tier competitions and managerial headhunting that could take years, get ready, immediately into the shilling. Modern platforms like FACEIT. Oh, what's that? FACEIT. Here's an article about FACEIT 2.0, which, by the way, if you don't know, FACEIT, think about it, ESL FACEIT Group, FACEIT is the platform that you play on if you're like a casual that wants like a better environment and has access to competitions. And if you get really high up, you might get noticed by teams like in Counter-Strike, for example, and then you could become a pro Counter-Strike player. So we're just going to make FACEIT 2.0 is how you get into esports. Now, let me just quickly check something with Google. Okay, you can actually play Overwatch 2 on FACEIT, to be fair. I only knew about Counter-Strike, by the way. So there's an article about that as well. Magically written by Rolling Stone, not a human being. So modern platforms like FACEIT allow people to begin finding their footing more easily with an extremely low barrier of entry. It doesn't take years of structured training through high school and college or the backing of rich parents to float a childhood dream. On the surface, it can be as simple as learning the game, practicing, and finding the right teams online. You notice they don't mention you actually do need to pay for it. They make it just sound like, yeah, anyone could just go on there. Remember, they make money from actually... By the way, this article alone probably will make a load of FACEIT signups that'll just justify all the money spent on it. For games like Overwatch, that groundwork is stronger than ever. Launched in... Holy shit. They're actually about right now, guys, I think to make it look like there wasn't an Overwatch League. So for games like Overwatch, that groundwork is stronger than ever. Launched in 2024, last year, the Overwatch Champions Series, which is the one that ESL FACEIT runs, is a global tournament with an open call format that allows teams to rapidly ascend from startup to stardom without the need for years of hustling or corporate backing. Now, you notice they don't mention there was an Overwatch League and it completely failed. Oh no, there's some down here. To be fair, there's some down here, but you don't get it up here. You'd almost get the sense that this is how Overwatch is just starting now. Then it goes, at DreamHack.com 2024, article written, at least by a human this time. At least a human being actually wrote this. It was the editor-in-chief apparently, but okay, I think that was what his title was. Now, this alone is mental sports washing. Because DreamHack Stockholm 2024, get ready, brings the Culture Festival back to its roots. Now, here's the thing. The roots of DreamHack, if you don't know, when it was in Jönköping, it was one of the biggest lands in the world, like 10,000 people going for BYOC. And crucially, the people who ran it were sort of like left of centre Swedish hippies, where the whole vibe was like, hey man, let's just fucking game and keep all the bullshit out of it, and let's not have any like they're Swedes, let's not have any toxic shit here, man. It's why famously on the first ever CS Major DreamHack Winter 2013 I wore a bunch of sports jerseys, because they actually told us the dress code was just wear whatever you're comfortable in. It's a DreamHack vibe. It's not supposed to be a stuffy like buttoned up event like ESL, etc. So I can tell you right now, the culture and the roots of DreamHack in absolutely no context. In fact, I would say they're diametrically opposed to the culture brought by Saudi Arabia and what they pay for in the world. So, okay, that's quite insane in itself. And the idea you can take Sweden, I don't even use this term as a positive, I think it's derogatory, one of the most progressive countries in the world that is mega against any kind of like repression of women in any social or cultural or financial or real physical context. They're now going to be associated as though their roots in any way could be shared and funded by the Saudis themselves through their fund. Enough said. It's just sports washing all the way down, boys. The OWCS, so you can go here, of course there's loads about that because their event in it. So we're paying for articles about that. Notice, it's the one I'm reading right now. There was one written by the Christopher Cruz guy. For contenders at OWCS, it's their very first time competing on stage. Okay, let's read a little bit. Let's see. This is all okay so far. It does mention this guy was involved with Overwatch League, but doesn't seem to mention anything more than that. Let's skip down a little bit. Oh no, back to why you need to be on FACEIT. But before anyone ever reaches the OWS stage, there's countless hours of work that have to be done to create the foundation. Prior to signing a team or organisation, players are spending most of their time in-game, honing their skills and learning the meta on FACEIT.com. Sign up now. Or the current strategy, I don't know if you actually have to pay for the Overwatch one, strategies and trends used in matches, sometimes upwards of 12 hours a day. That doesn't quite change after making the cut, but it does become more regimented. So let's keep going down. Okay, training, okay, got all that shit. Notice this sort of a person here going to DreamHack. Look, you might think, don't judge a book by its cover. Absolutely, you can judge a book by its cover because the decisions actually, look, I guess it doesn't work for modern books because the publisher chooses the cover. If the author designed the cover though, that would actually say something about it. So do you think that sort of person, if I took away the DreamHack and the Sportswashing, Esportswashing, do you think they would fuck with what the Saudis are doing? I think they, just my assumption, would even be against things like just someone saying a naughty word on the internet or being rude in a tweet. That's just my guess. So I wonder if this is what one of the people they're talking about. So talks about a German and Lebanese player who plays for Space Station Gaming. So you get a practice area when you go to this event. You can do content creation. Just keep going down. Just all about how brilliant OWCS is. A product of ESL FACEIT Group, right? There's another person. He's just practicing, doing all that good shit. Let's keep going down. Physical fitness and a healthy social life. I bet you do get physical fitness in a Saudi prison, mate. Healthy social life. I don't know if they actually put you in general pop there. I don't know how it works. Thankfully, I've never found out and I haven't looked into it. Oh, one of the biggest social stigmas associated with esports is that players, and most of its players, are sedentary. That's a really old meme. Yeah, there's probably a lot of truth to it, let's be real. I'd say at this point in time, though, if this wasn't on RS Gaming, which was partnered content, actually now one of the biggest social stigmas associated with esports, like Overwatch and CS, is people who cut people's heads off and put women in prison for decades over tweets are funding it all. But because I'm on a Esportswashing website, crucially, I'll talk about some other bullshit that you might care about that doesn't have to do with Saudi, and I'll never talk about the Saudis. Fun. And let's talk about the truth, shall we? That's interesting. So keep going down. This guy likes to go to the gym. Okay, cool. Blah, blah, blah. Keep going down. NRG shock. Let's keep going down here. Loader makes an appearance. The 12-year-old boy that was choked and then thrown off the top of the fucking cage in Hell in a Cell 2015 by Richard Lewis. Just about getting to boot camp, basically. Reinforce comes in. You know what? I'll very quickly tell a story. Yeah, I think statute of limitations past it. It actually is 10 years ago. Reinforce, believe it or not, used to come from Counter-Strike. And he used to be a journalist from Sweden. He's now been an Overwatch player, and he was pretty good actually, by the way. And he was a pretty good commentator and caster, an analyst. When I went to Sweden in 2015 to do Fragbite Masters 3, where I had Richard Lewis as my host, and I actually had Zet as the old legendary 1.6 player as my analyst. It was the one that was won by Fnatic over LDLC because they were owning them at the time. And also at this event, I think you also had, Dignitas was there, because I know there's a picture of me with Dupree and some other people. I'm also there actually with Fiflara, who's just left working with NIP. And we have a sort of a sit down after I'd been critical of him, but we always got along. We all coup de la. Who was the third team? I think Virtus Pro, but I'm not sure on that one. I'm not sure on that one. Anyway, when I went to this LAN, because he was there, but he was working for Fragbite, who were reporting on the event. Well, I knew a bunch of people who worked for Fragbite. So they brought this guy along, and I didn't know him. He was just a fan generally of esports. He was really optimistic, but a little bit of a clumsy kind of a guy, but he had a very affable nature to him. And we went out to a bar in Stockholm, and we were stood in one of those bars where when you stand in the smoking section, you huddle around. It's almost like those tall tables that you get in a nightclub. There was one of those to put your drinks on. And because this guy was sort of barely holding it together, that he was around Richard Lewis and Thorin, and we're massive in CS doing all the events. He actually fucked up and got nervous and knocked a whole pint of lager or beer. And of course, it didn't go down this fucker, did it? No. He knocked it forwards. It just went straight across the table and then down the table, right down my entire front. And I was just stood there are you having a fucking laugh? And if you know me, I have this face. It's not resting bitch face. It's a fuck off face. It's I don't want, mate, I'm not the guy you just walk up to and ask for money or go, hey, how you doing, sir? If you come up to me and do hey, what about some charity thing? I just go, no thanks, and just walk on. I'm not that guy. So I could tell he was fucking shit scared. Part of him thought I was just going to dive over this little table and fucking wreck him. But here's the thing. What people don't know about me is, if you're reasonable to me, I'll be reasonable to you. I can be a very reasonable person. I actually believe, because I'm English, in the value of civility where possible. I think that's actually how you have a civilization. But obviously, if you fuck with me, yeah, I'll absolutely destroy you on any context, physical, mental, financial, or spiritual, right? But in this scenario, in that moment, I've only just met this kid. He's obviously nervous. Yes, he spilled a fucking drink, but anyone in theory could spill a drink. Accidents can happen to anyone. Oh, well. So I just sort of went, oh, well, I guess accidents happen. Even though I'm now going to be stood, by the way, just soaking in fucking lager for the rest of the thing. And I don't even like lager. It fucking stinks. So, okay, I'm just stood there. So I'm fine, right? I'm just waiting and we're just talking about other things. And then he does this really annoying thing that people do when they're sort of a fan, where he's doing that sort of Hugh Grant thing, terribly sorry, oh gosh, what have I done now? And he just keeps bringing up that he spilt this drink down me, going, Look, I'm really sorry again about spilling the drink. It's like, that's okay, mate. Let's just let it go and move on with our night, shall we? But he just keeps bringing it up. Like, then he keeps like turning to Richard like, oh, I'm just worried that Thorin's like going to be mad about me spilling the drink. He's going, listen, mate, he's okay with it. Just let it go. Let's get on with the night. Because by the way, if you keep reminding me, now I'm going to get fucking pissed off, aren't I? So anyway, that's just a little story about Reinforced there. Random fucking... Richard does it. There's this a tale from, not the life, but the career of Thorin. I'll give you, because I don't give you my personal life. You don't get that for the price of whatever you paid to watch this video. Nothing, in most cases. So you have a bunch of shit about him and about it being a dream to play in the game, blah, blah, blah. So let's keep going down here. Some people skip out on sports to do all this. You notice, by the way, this is almost an article too, saying if you want to get in esports, you better start when you're like 7 to 15 or something, and the place to do it is on FACEIT.com. That's basically, if you read between the lines, what they're implying. So here's a guy who's 18, who's been playing since the 4th grade. Notice the whole thing now is like, hey, if you're only like 17 or 8, you can still get in. There's still enough time left. Here's all things. He's getting burned out. Get ready. Immediate mention of the Sportswashing product again. It felt like this year, the pressure was always on my shoulders. I made my first international LAN at the Esports World Cup. Woo, 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 woo. Saudi sports washing alarm, guys. What is the number one Saudi sports washing product at the moment? In theory, it's the Esports World Cup, isn't it? Won by what team? You guessed it. Team Falcons. Funded by who? The Saudis. Let's keep it Saudi. Keep it round me. That's what people say in ESL FACEIT Group, I guess. So it's all about Esports World Cup. Notice again, you read this article, you'd never know another esports. You'd never know another esport exists, another esports circuit exists, or that there was any other way to become pro than FACEIT.com. So let's keep going. You go down here, bunch of professional athletes, all things they can do here. Whether it's football or Overwatch, so not like, League of Legends or, Dota 2 or something like that. Oh, sorry, is there not really like a FACEIT type? Oh, my bad. Okay, it's all good. Keep going down. How could parents of a certain generation wrap their heads around video games as a job? Video games, of course, just leading to the video game section of Rolling Stone. Check out all these articles. Look who writes for them, by the way. That is how utterly dog shit this gaming vertical is. By the way, RS Games is going to write about esports and they hire this person. Are you out of your motherfucking mind? So anyway, it's also that old hack thing. Tons of players will tell you stories. Get this, guys. Am I right? Haven't we all been there? Of being called down for dinner in the middle of a major qualifying match, only to be met with shouts and punishments from their parents, because parents don't know you can't bloody pause the game. Fucking hell, this is like something from the 90s, bro. Also, how big are we using the word major? Like, no one who gets to the level they're actually in a major qualifying match, like some important shits, ever go like, their mom's like, Johnny, I've told you, the fish fingers and chips are on the table. Get down here now and pause that game, or I'm going to come and unplug the PC. Mom, I'm almost in the fucking RMR for CS. It's absurd, isn't it? Obviously not. By that point, you'd already know. What you mean is like just playing a promo game or, FACEIT.com match. Yes, then your parents might not understand. The fuck are you talking about, you moron? Then we have this guy who's 22 years old. He plays for Shock, apparently. Okay, keep going down there. Another DreamHack Stockholm launched, in case you didn't click that earlier. Person here doing all this shit. His mom's helping him out. Wonder how the moms of the people in prison in Saudi Arabia feel, or people who've been beheaded feel. If you don't know, they even beheaded people during the month where they held the Esports Awards in Riyadh. Then you have this guy here who, where's the Dave guy? This guy goes, this is like watching the Celtics. Sort of, I guess. Sort of is, I guess. Go to sports system. Okay, cool. Keep going down there. OWACS, Overwatch, all the good shit. Okay. Oh, wait a second. Bloody hell. Let's put another link in to that same shit about DreamHack that we already had earlier. Because no matter where you start and read this article, you will absolutely see our links. Think, oh, there's information there, and go read more sportswashing articles. This is like the fucking Rosetta Stone of esports washing, innit? Right, let's keep going down. Just about how when he started out in esports 9 years ago, whatever, all this shit, people at 7... Oh, let's look again. Players who are going pro now at 17 have been playing the game since they were kids. How many times are you going to imply you need to play the game from being a kid to go pro it? And also, you put that there, you are an absolute fucking liar. Like, let me think. It depends what you're using the term kids, because I guess logically, if you mean anything under 17 is a kid, then yes, they could have been playing Overwatch since 2016. So you are right on that one, I guess. It's starting to feel really integrated into people's lives and upbringing. Why are you keeping stressing the idea that, like, almost like a healthy childhood that could lead you to being a pro would also include trying to compete in esports? Like, no, you play the game for fun at that age. In fact, competition is probably the worst thing to put into it. Then we go to this Bailey McCann doing her part by leading initiatives like Calling All Heroes. Get ready for this. That's an Overwatch series, apparently not owned by the Saudis, just run by Blizzard Entertainment, where look what it's about. Calling All Heroes is our gender inclusivity initiative aimed at supporting members of marginalised gender identities. How do you imagine they do in Saudi Arabia? You can learn all more about it and our mission statement and all the shit about it here. But wait a minute. I'm mentioning this within an equity building programme about marginalised genders. This article is paid content by people who are funded by the Saudi state. Think about how gross this is. This is why it's washing. I've become Italian. Come on. Creating a more diverse landscape for esports should be a given. You're holding most of the bloody finals in Riyadh. You haven't done it, have you? By the way, a quick aside, I can tell you, you know what Team Liquid proudly said, as if they were like being subversive, like, we're going to put on our shirts going to the EWC a pride flag. I had someone within Team Liquid on the Counter-Strike division tell me, they were like, what the fuck? You're making me go to Saudi Arabia with a pride flag on my jersey. I even said, yeah, no shit, that's like making you go into a fucking lion's den with like whole links of sausages around your fucking neck. Are you out of your mind? That's just gross on the surface of it anyway. It's not edgy. And by the way, here's how you know they won't change the Saudis. They'll just give a little bit of leeway to make it seem like they're changing. Years and years ago, Theresa May, when she was Prime Minister of England, went to Saudi Arabia and didn't wear a hijab and shook the hand, I think, of like one of the royal family. So if you're bigger than them, then they'll let you do it. But here's the thing. Notice how, if they're already letting all that, they must let all the women in their country do they fuck? They only just recently let them drive. And I think even then they put the women who were activists for them to drive into prison. So, absolutely not. Like, that means, by the way, they could allow those rules to go differently, but they choose not to. They still choose to wreck everyone. Now we've got schools being a huge factor. Fucking hell. By the way, if you're smart, Saudis, just fund all the school shit. Get those kids young. We all know degenerate people love to get into kids when they're fucking young and the parents aren't listening, right? Scholastic programming is blowing up across the United States. I will just say this. If I was funded by the Saudi Arabians, I don't know that I'd talk about things in the United States blowing up. Then again, I know history. So this is just so good for anyone, especially youth. We're going to keep hitting that harder and harder. I know when I played on a sports team, very different from video games, and especially in this particular case, hopefully not funded by the Saudis, I was playing on sports teams when I was younger. When I played on Overwatch teams, it just helped make me a better person. all right, bruh, whatever. I learned community skills that just help you across your whole life. Seems an outrageous statement to make, but okay. So let's keep going down. It's still about how young you are. This guy was signed when he was 13. Okay, let's keep going down. Counter-Strike's one of the only other games mentioned, of course. While some games like Counter-Strike have remained relatively familiar, Overwatch, brilliant. Keep going down. Most famous Street Fighter player. This actually isn't Sportswashing. It's just an article about viral clips. So, of course, it's just the most hacky ones of all time. I mean, who's ever heard of the Justin Wong versus Daigo Parrot? Give me a fucking break, mate. So let's keep going down a second. Go down. They're even trying to imply, even though it's absolute nonsense, that in theory, in esports, it's the game changing, not growing up, that makes it harder to compete. I wouldn't say that. I'd say it's that you're getting older and you have different priorities in your life, and in the past you couldn't make as much of a living or it wasn't as legit. Sometimes the abuse is too much. There's about learning the game here. Again, about young kids. But I feel like the younger kids, they have so much passion. Yeah, they're not even supposed to be playing the game for a start, so no wonder naughty kids want to do things they're not allowed to do. That's not a good thing to actually give into that, by the way. I'd maybe say you could play an hour or two, but under supervision, and let's just check who you're fucking playing with. Could be some fucking nonce, couldn't it? When you get older and become a veteran, which in their world, by the way, is like fucking 20 years old, I guess, you really need to make sure you keep the fire. If you don't, you cannot keep up with those 16 and 17-year-old kids who are playing their first LAN. They're really excited. They're giving it their all. Okay, cool. And then that's the end. It just ends there, innit? Grade A Sportswashing. We managed to mention almost every project and product of ESL FACEIT Group there, while also constantly not really talking about like the insider trials of esports stardom. It was mainly more about how you need to play on faceit.com as young as possible, and if you're the parent of a kid, you should let them do it, and how it can even make you a better person and provide community. By definition, it can't provide community. That's one of the most Orwellian things about the mainstream of esports. The mainstream of anything is inverted, because that's currently in the current cultural milieu, the sort of social subversion that people want to put into your brain. They make you think up is down and black is white. So when you say the esports community, it's the opposite of a community. A community is like a bunch of people around each other with shared interests and values. Esports is just everyone. So you have people having crazy like culture wars and cancellations, and men attacking women and women attacking men, and the old attacking the young and the young attacking the old, and then this company attacking that company and this game attacking that game. Journalists at each other's throat. It's the opposite of a community. It's just like a fucking apocalyptic wasteland, and you better have enough petrol and guns to get everyone else's gold and food in this analogy. And you better not be the one holding just the gold and the food, I'll tell you. Also, you're like the fucking Walking Dead, homie. Kind of gross, really, innit? I mean, it makes you a better person to play on FACEIT and then join the Overwatch League and just never talk about or know about who funds it and what they're doing. All right, bruh. How Orwellian's that shit? No, Thorin, it's not enough that you must obey Big Brother. You must love him too. You must love him, Thorin. And you must not even know what the answer is. You must just accept whatever he says it is and love what his answer is. Double plus good. Chocolate ration's gone up 10%. Esports awards got better. They've removed all the unnecessary awards that we don't need. Because why do we need journalism now, independent journalism? We have partner-written content by Rolling Stone on RS Gaming. And that's my one-stop shop for everything about ESL FACEIT Group esports and products, with no mention whatsoever of who's funding it all and what they're doing. But at the same time, daring to mention culture, even implying gender marginalised and woke shit there for left-wing people. And it makes you a better person. I'm sure it does. And one last thing. Do you think it's a coincidence it's Overwatch is one of the games that they quickly scooped up when Overwatch League died and went to? Because remember, the Overwatch League was the one where they were banning like the OK sign for being racist. They were saying if you put a fucking a Pepe, that was racist. They were saying if you did the try-hard thing, that was racist. Everything was about like, make her ass smaller, make him gay. It was all about the idea. Seemingly it was like an esport, as far as I can tell, it just tried to like actively court everyone who isn't straight. It was just trying to be like, are you in any way marginalised in any context intersectionally? Then Overwatch is for you. Well, that's exactly the game that you'd Esportswash. And by the way, you'd imagine they must all be up in outrage and they should be boycotting it all. Are they fuck? Not only publicly do they all still follow it and love it, bar a few rare unicorn examples, but also internally and externally, they explain about how this is necessary to fund the game. And actually, they're still making progress and they can drive now and all that shit. It's like, yeah, they can't drive when they get their fucking heads chopped off and they're in prison, you dunce. They say no man is an island. We all need people who've got our back. And supporting me and the content on my channel are the following people: Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, The Concept, Animosity, Banediesel, Ben Glass, Jasun, Jensen Goh, Tosh, Thorin, and you know it, always a special thanks goes up to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Do you want to ask a question for my video AMA? Do you want to take part in one of those lengthy discussions where I talk about whatever topics are on your mind? Do you want teasers, find out who the upcoming guests are, or maybe even to suggest a guest or a topic for my content? If any of those perks or others catch your fancy, well, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today, where? In the Patreon link in the description box below.